Hi there, my name's Kat Williams from staycalmandcontent.com. I'm a relationship counsellor and I connected recently with Karin from letsgrowleaders.com as part of her March Meaning It festival, festival on sincerity. And one of the more interesting questions she asked me, we've done a podcast together which is on her website, but I wanted to say a little bit more in this video about the last question she asked me, which was, do you have any creative ideas, either in your book or just other ideas, about how helping others to come across in the most meaningful way, to really communicate and ensure that they're listened to and understood. So I was thinking about that and just wanted to say a little bit more. And for me, the campaign that Karin described to me is, for me, summed up in this quote. So he that undervalues himself will undervalue others, and he that undervalues others will oppress them. Now it's Samuel Johnson that said that. And the way I understand that in terms of communication is that if we don't value ourselves enough to really communicate and be who we are, so communicate very honestly, really be ourselves and have the confidence to be ourselves, then we're not going to have that confidence to listen so well to others either, because if we're just not being ourselves, then we're not going to value others as themselves. So that's really the theme that I'm going to talk about. Now, how do we do that? So first of all, valuing yourself enough to be honest and thinking about how we talk, how we come across. Second of all, valuing others enough to listen. So I'm going to mention how to really listen. And finally, how to have those difficult conversations when we feel we have to have them, how to go about them. So I've thought of a sort of a scenario that hopefully some of you can identify with. Imagine you work quite closely with other colleagues on several projects or just activities at work, but you're starting to feel that although you're putting a lot of effort in, that you're not actually getting that equal recognition from whoever that might be, or that a particular colleague maybe is trying to kind of steal your thunder, trying to take credit for something that you actually do. And you're starting to feel a bit resentful about this, you're starting to think, what am I going to do about this? I'm not liking this person very much at the moment, they're kind of making me feel, all those kind of emotions. Now what are you going to do about that? Because if you don't sort of have this feeling of I need to value myself enough to be honest, then what might happen is that you're not honest, and you might start to be a bit backhanded with this person, you might change how you speak to them, how you interact with them, and that over time could start to reflect quite badly on us, on you, if you're the person in this situation, and you might end up with less of a good report further down the line based on this situation that really has to be handled in the best possible way for you to have a good outcome. So first of all, how are you going to approach this difficult scenario? So the first thing I'd like you to think about is there's lots of different ways of communicating. There is face-to-face, there's maybe email, there's telephone, there's text. So first of all, think what might be the best way for you to come across in this situation. And before you do that, think very carefully about what's happening internally that's producing these emotions. So it might be frustration, anger, just annoyance. What has really hit home in terms of your confidence and your sense of self-worth? And it probably is this situation of I'm not feeling equally valued. And that's really what you're trying to communicate, not simply the emotions that are kind of coming out as a result of that. So you're not trying to communicate your anger and your frustration. That isn't going to be helpful. You're trying to communicate the true message inside, which is I want to feel equally valued. And that's really what you're going to say. So however you decide to get this message across, possibly face to face, bear in mind sometimes difficult conversations can be better side by side. You might find yourself in a canteen or in a car with someone, and you might decide that rather than sort of staring each other in the eyes, you are kind of together there at the same space, but you're actually just side by side and not quite so threatening if you have something difficult to say, particularly if you worry that you might actually get a bit agitated and a bit emotional. So just bear that in mind as an option. So what you're going to try and say is exactly what you mean, and you're just going to use the words I. So it's going to be, I feel that I need to know I'm adequately recognised for the work I put in, and that I'm adequately or equally appreciated and valued for the projects that we complete together, that we put in equal effort. That's the sort of thing you're trying to say. And really that's it. What you don't want to do is literally or metaphorically start to point that finger. The minute you get tempted to bring in, why don't you do this, or you did that and it made me feel, that's an attack, and it's going to only cause that other person to either defend themselves or attack you back. You're going to end up with the, well, what do you mean, I didn't do that, that was your fault, and really that's not going to be helpful. There's no need to get into the detail of who did this and who did that and what happened. That's really what you want to avoid. And if that starts to happen, you can just come back to that first message that you decided you wanted to convey, which was, I simply feel I need equal recognition for the work that I put into these projects that we complete together. That's it, kind of full stop. And there's not a lot they can come back to you on that. They can't feel too criticised. You've simply stated how you feel and what your opinion is. Now, so part of this second half of that quote was having that confidence to not oppress others, so to listen more clearly and communicate better, and to really understand others. So that comes into how to listen. And if we're having a difficult relationship with someone, whoever it might be, whether in our personal lives or our lives at work, the best way we can improve that relationship is to try and listen and understand. And we can ask open questions which begin with how, what, where, why and when. And as you probably know, they're called open questions because they can't be answered simply yes or no. So they're going to give us hopefully a better understanding of what's going on internally with that person we're finding it hard to get on with. And you might think, I don't really want to understand them, I don't really like them, but if that relationship is important where you work or where you live, it's an important relationship in your life, then you really do need to try and think of a way of improving that. And that, as I say, is the best way, is to ask those open questions, because what you're trying to do is to understand that other person. There's going to be a reason for the way they behave, a reason for what they're thinking and what they're saying, and it's trying to look for that reason in terms of what's going on with their self-confidence, their self-worth, how they're interpreting things. And if you ask those open questions, you're trying to encourage them to speak honestly back to you and to show that you value their opinion. You want to actually understand. You're not trying to be one of those colleagues or one of those leaders or that boss that actually just wants to judge, and nobody wants to feel judged before they've had a chance to explain. So it's definitely not about coming across as criticising, it's coming across as I'd like to understand, which really does show that healthy confidence, that healthy kind of self-worth. If we can demonstrate, I'm no better than you, but nobody's better than me, that kind of win-win mutual respect. And I really feel that's important. That's mainly, I think, all I wanted to say. As I mentioned, I am Kat Williams from staycalmandcontent.com. My book's on Amazon. Just a quick read covering all sorts of different topics, about 26 different topics that are relevant at work and in our personal lives. I have a YouTube channel with some more videos on. My blog is on staycalmandcontent.com. I am Stay Calm and Content on Facebook and Google+, and Kat Stay Calm on Twitter. And I thank Karin Hurt very much again. The podcast is on letsgrowleaders.com, and I thank you very much for watching.